There is a war happening right now, and it's not on the outside. It's inside your home, inside your friend circle, inside your heart. Because sometimes the person who claps the loudest for you is secretly hoping you fall. And you felt it, haven't you? That weird energy, that sudden silence when you walk in the room, that friendly joke that cuts a little too deep. You called it love. They masked it as support. But what if I told you it was never real to begin with? Today, I'm going to reveal 10 hidden signs that someone close to you secretly hates you. And once you see these signs, you can never unsee them. This is going to wake you up. This will shift your energy. This might even save your life, because pretending someone loves you when they don't is the most dangerous lie you can live. Before we dive deep, if you're ready to break illusions and open your eyes, hit that like button and subscribe right now. This channel is not for the blind, it's for the awakened. Let's go. They smile when they speak to you, but their words are knives dipped in honey. You think they're complimenting you, but you walk away feeling smaller. This is not love. This is psychological warfare. A backhanded compliment is not harmless. It's a weapon disguised as kindness. They'll say, you actually look good today, like you've never looked good before. They'll laugh and say, you're smarter than you seem, like your intelligence is a surprise. They'll tell you, I'm impressed you pulled that off, as if your success was a miracle. These are not slips of the tongue. They are precision strikes meant to shatter your self-worth. They don't want to destroy you openly. That would reveal the truth. They want you to question yourself silently. That's how they win. Because if you question yourself, you won't question them. If you doubt your value, you'll cling to their approval. And that's the trap. They break you down just enough to stay above you. They wear the mask of encouragement, but their energy is poison. Their words feel like a pat on the back, but it's actually a push off the edge. You start second-guessing your wins. You start shrinking your light so they don't feel insecure. You start believing their version of you instead of your own. This is how they control you, through doubt wrapped in a smile. They'll say, wow, you're actually consistent with this one, like you've failed everything else. And they'll say, I didn't expect you to do this well, as if success was never your territory. They'll say, you're not like other people from your background, and call it a compliment. It's not. It's an insult with sugar on top. And the worst part, they say it in front of others, so you can't call it out without looking bitter. They make you the punchline in rooms you thought were safe. You laugh along because confronting it would make you the problem. You stay silent because they didn't mean it like that. But your soul knows exactly what it meant. Your intuition felt the jabs. Your heart skipped for a reason. And if you feel like you need to prove your worth around someone, you're already under attack. Healthy people don't make you doubt your brilliance. Real love doesn't leave you questioning your glow. They say these things to dim you just enough that you never outshine them. Their ego can't handle your growth, so they dress their jealousy in fake praise. They'll point out your flaws, then call it just being honest. But honesty without compassion is cruelty. And compliments without purity are manipulation. They're not building you up, they're keeping you beneath them. Subtly, consistently, deliberately. It's not a joke, it's a strategy. It's not random, it's rehearsed. They don't celebrate you, they tolerate you until you make them feel small. And when you succeed, they panic, because now they can't pretend to be the superior one, so they shift tactics. Sarcasm, passive aggression, fake praise. They'll say you're doing good for someone like you, or wow, you're getting attention now, huh? Or look at you acting all successful, and everyone else hears support, but you hear the sting they slipped between the lines. You hear the subtle dig that no one else catches. That's how deep the game is. They want you to question your own perception. They want you to feel guilty for noticing the shade in their words. But let me tell you something. Your feelings are facts. Your intuition is evidence. That tension in your chest is truth. People who love you don't make you feel like you have to apologize for shining. People who support you don't turn compliments into cages. They don't need to humble you because they're already whole within themselves. But the ones who hate you in silence, they'll cloak it in encouragement. They'll pretend to be your fan while secretly hoping you trip. They'll smile at your face while praying you stay in your lane. And the more you rise, the more they'll tighten the leash of false praise. Because if you ever realize your full power, you won't need them anymore. So they give just enough approval to keep you seeking it. They starve you with compliments, then feed you crumbs and call it a feast. They make you dependent on their validation while chipping away at your confidence. This is how they stay in control, by shaping how you see yourself. They want to be your mirror, but the reflection they offer is warped, twisted, and tinted with their own insecurity. And you begin to internalize their lies. You start believing that your worth needs their permission. You forget who you were before they made you doubt it. But I'm here to remind you, their version of you is a projection of their fear. Their comments are not reflections of your limits, but revelations of theirs. You are not what they say in their poisoned praise. You are who you are when no one is watching. And when their support sounds like subtle sabotage, it's not support. It's sabotage, period. Trust attention. Listen to the discomfort. Stop laughing at the joke that insults your spirit. Stop seeking love from people who hide bullets in bouquets. And above all, never let someone confuse hate for honesty. You know exactly what they're doing. You've just been too kind to admit it. But now it's time to see it for what it is and walk away with your light intact. There are people in your life who smile louder when you lose. People who clap a little too hard when life knocks you down. You think they care, but they're secretly keeping score. Every time you stumble, their silence turns into energy. They suddenly become more attentive, more concerned, more available. Not out of love, but because your failure feeds their ego. Your setbacks make them feel safe. Your pain confirms their hidden belief that you'll never outgrow them. They pretend to empathize, but deep down they're celebrating. They'll say, "I'm so sorry to hear that," but there's a smirk behind the words. They'll say, "That must be hard," but they're sleeping better knowing you fell. They don't want you to collapse publicly. They want you to bleed quietly so they can pretend to be your lifeline while secretly loving the fall. They love when you need them because the moment you rise too high, they become invisible. They don't hate you when you struggle. They hate you when you succeed. They're addicted to your vulnerability because it gives them purpose. The moment you don't need saving, they start looking for ways to pull you back under. They'll check in during your crisis, but vanish during your breakthroughs. Because if you start winning, the illusion dies. The illusion that they're above you, the illusion that they're stronger, wiser, more stable. Your failure keeps them comfortable. It confirms their belief that success is not for people like you. It protects their fragile identity. Because your rise threatens everything they pretend to be. So they'll say, maybe it just wasn't meant for you. When your plans fall apart, they'll say everything happens for a reason. But deep down, they're relieved. Relieved that life gave you another delay, another detour, another door slam shut, because the longer you're stuck, the longer they feel powerful. They don't want to grow with you. They want you to shrink with them. So they mask celebration with pity and pity with celebration. They'll never cheer the loudest when you win, but they're the first to text when things go wrong. That's not love. That's emotional sabotage dressed as concern. You deserve people who clap the loudest at your highest moments. But instead, you've got people who are the loudest when you're at your lowest. They find comfort in your chaos. They find joy in your detours. They find meaning in your missteps. And you start thinking they're your safe space, but the truth is they only show up when you're bleeding. Because a healed version of you doesn't feed your insecurity. So they nurture your brokenness to keep you small. They validate your doubt so you don't outgrow them. They offer kind advice that's rooted in fear, not faith. They don't believe in your greatness. They just believe in keeping you close enough to control. Your failure gives them a role. Your success makes them irrelevant. They're not clapping for you. They're clapping because it's not them who failed. Your loss is their secret win. Your breakdown is their secret relief. They don't say it, but their energy screams it. And the worst part is you defend them, you call it love, you call it history, but history doesn't mean loyalty. And love that cheers your downfall is not love at all. It's competition in disguise. They treat life like a scoreboard and they need you to stay one step behind. So when you stumble, they feel secure. They'll bring up your past when your future starts looking bright. They'll remind you of every mistake when you start moving different. They'll say, don't get ahead of yourself when you start dreaming big. They'll say, just be realistic when you talk like a winner. But their version of realistic is just another word for stay small. You've got to see through it because not everyone in your corner is on your side. Some people will sit front row at your life just to watch you fall. They don't support your glow. They tolerate it until it fades. They don't feed your fire. They wait for it to burn out. And when you finally crash, they show up with fake comfort. But their silence when you are rising speaks louder. Ask yourself, who disappears when you shine and reappears when you suffer? Who shrinks when you speak with power but lights up when you sound broken? That's your answer. But that's the truth you've been afraid to face. You're surrounded by people who would never say it, but their soul celebrates your struggle. Because your strength reminds them of their weakness. Your growth reveals their stagnation, and your success exposes the lies they tell themselves daily. So they pray, not for your rise, but for your pause, not for your healing, but for your delay, not for your joy, but for just enough pain to keep you dependent. They call it love, but it's leeching. They call it support, but it's control. They clap with one hand while holding a dagger in the other, and if you keep mistaking pity for loyalty, you'll never grow. You'll stay caged by the fear of outshining people who were never truly for you. It's time to stop shrinking to protect their comfort. It's time to stop falling so they feel tall. You were not born to be the person they can feel superior to. You were born to wake up every room you walk into, but as long as you let their silence define your worth, you'll keep mistaking their relief for love, and you'll keep mistaking their concern for care. But now you see, now you know, and now you rise. If this is waking you up and hitting deep, smash that like button and subscribe for more truth they'll never tell you. Your energy is your truth, and they're stealing it without a trace. You sit with them, smile, laugh, talk, but when you leave, you feel empty. It's not just conversation, it's spiritual robbery. They don't take your money, they take your spark. You entered the room with light, you left feeling darker. Every interaction leaves you hollow, not whole. You think it's your fault, but it's not. You're being energetically manipulated by someone who doesn't clap for your peace. They don't scream at you, they drain you with silence, sarcasm, and subtle jabs. You feel like you just ran a marathon after a 10-minute conversation. That's not love, that's your soul rejecting their presence. They act calm, but their aura is chaos. They look composed, but their words are laced with venom. And your body knows it before your mind catches on. You don't trust your exhaustion, so you blame stress. But your soul is screaming, this connection is poison. You feel foggy after talking to them. You second guess yourself more when they're around. You start questioning what you said, how you said it, if you were too much. That's not connection. Connection, that's corrosion. They don't attack you directly. They chip away slowly, piece by piece. They lower your frequency until your light feels heavy. You walk in confident. They shift the air. You walk out questioning your own energy. They disguise it as conversation, but it's really extraction. They're feeding off your light to avoid their own shadows. You're being used as emotional fuel, and they don't even flinch because they don't see your soul, they see your supply. They only feel powerful when you feel confused. They only feel secure when you feel small. And your tiredness isn't physical, it's energetic warfare. You think they're being supportive, but you leave feeling worse, not because of what they said, but because of what they didn't. The fake nods, the passive tone, the empty enthusiasm. Your spirit notices every inch of dishonesty. Your nervous system reacts before your brain even understands. It's not anxiety, it's warning. It's not overthinking, it's awareness. And the more you ignore it, the more they feed. You start adapting your tone around them. You talk slower, lighter, smaller. You shrink your joy so it doesn't offend them. You dilute your energy so they don't feel insecure. You leave every meeting more unsure than before. And still, you call it friendship. Still, you convince yourself this is normal. But peace shouldn't leave you tired. Support shouldn't feel like suffocation. You don't need to recover from someone who loves you. You don't need to rebuild your energy after someone checks in. Love doesn't leave you spiritually exhausted. Real presence doesn't drain your soul, it restores it. But they're not here to restore you. They're here to keep you in emotional debt. Because if you're always drained, you can never rise. And if you never rise, they don't have to face their own stagnation. So they talk in circles, pull you into their problems, inject their drama into your peace. They dump their weight onto you, then walk away lighter, while you're stuck carrying what was never yours. They call it venting, but it's actually dumping. They offload their darkness into your light and expect you to absorb it without question. And if you speak up, they'll say you're too sensitive. If you draw a boundary, they'll say you've changed. But you're not too sensitive. You're finally awake. You're not selfish for protecting your peace. You're reclaiming your power. You're not the problem. They are the parasite. They're not confused. They're calculated. They drain you just enough so you don't notice the theft. So you don't call it what it is, a one-sided, soul-draining connection. They know you're empathetic. That's why they latch on. They know you're strong. That's why they offload onto you. They know you won't walk away. That's why they don't bother to change. And the longer you stay, the weaker you become. Not because you are weak, but because you're slowly being unplugged from your own power source. Every second around them, your energy lowers. Every time you leave, you feel like something's missing. That missing piece is you. You've given so much of yourself that you're now operating on fragments, pieces of your mind, body, and soul handed over in every forced conversation. And still, they ask for more because it's never enough. People who drain you never feel full. Their hunger is bottomless because it's not about healing, it's about control. They want to keep you emotionally exhausted so you stay accessible, because a well-rested you would recognize the manipulation. A clear-headed you would set boundaries. A powerful you would walk away. So they make sure you're always emotionally fatigued so you don't have the energy to protect yourself. So you don't have the clarity to leave. But now you're starting to feel it, that quiet scream in your gut, that inner pull that says this isn't right. That's your spirit waking up. That's your truth pushing through the fog. You were never meant to be someone's emotional landfill. You were never born to carry someone else's unresolved shadows. Your light is not here to absorb their darkness. And if every interaction leaves you feeling drained, it's not a coincidence. It's a sign. It's a warning. It's time. When you hurt, they're there. When you bleed, they listen. But the moment you rise, they vanish like smoke. They show up for your pain because it makes them feel relevant. They imitate your suffering to mirror your story, not to heal with you, but to stay close enough to study your next move. They mimic your lows to secure your trust, but they're not interested in your highs. Your pain is their ticket in, but your power makes them uncomfortable. They say, I know exactly how that feels, but they're borrowing your storm to insert themselves into your story. They echo your wounds so they don't have to face their own. They bond over brokenness because that's the only place they feel worthy. But when the healing begins, when you start to climb, they fade into silence. Not a word, not a cheer, not a presence. You look around for the one who swore they'd never leave, and all you hear is absence. They don't want to be in the room where you win because it exposes the truth. You moved forward and they stayed behind. They were never walking with you. They were standing still, pretending to move. They copied your scars, but they never wanted your strength. They studied your sadness to gain access, but they resented the glow that came after. They're addicted to the version of you that struggles, not the one that soars. Because when you were broken, they felt important. When you were crying, they got to play savior. When you were stuck, they felt one step ahead. But now that you're growing, they feel threatened. Now that you're choosing joy, they call you distant. Now that you're shining, they call you arrogant. Because your healing didn't include them, because your success proved they were never part of your growth, only part of your pain. And it hurts because you believed them. You thought they understood your depth. You thought they cared. But all they ever wanted was a front row seat to your downfall. Your comeback wasn't in their plan. They were ready to grieve with you, not celebrate you. They memorized your fears so they could echo them back when they needed control. But now that you're strong, they have nothing left to mimic. Your victories are too real for them to fake. They can't pretend to be where you are because they never took the steps. They can't celebrate your win because it's a mirror to their own inaction. And that's what eats them alive. Not your success, but their silence. Not your glow, but the fact that it exposes their shadows. So they say nothing, or worse, they offer lukewarm praise wrapped in subtle shade. Good for you, they say, like your joy is foreign. Must be nice, they whisper, like your blessings were accidents. They don't ask questions about your progress. They don't show up to your milestones. They just watch from a distance, hoping you trip, because your growth breaks their illusion. The illusion that you were both the same. The illusion that you'd always stay one step behind. They kept up by pretending to struggle. But now you're not struggling anymore. Now you're walking in clarity and their mask is slipping. Now you're speaking with power and they have nothing left to echo. You invite them into your celebration and they come empty-handed. Not even fake joy, just a hollow presence. Their energy shifts when the spotlight finds you. They were loud in your trauma, quiet in your triumph. They were first to text when you were crying and first to ghost when you started to smile again. Because to them, your struggle was connection. But your joy is confrontation. It confronts the lie they told themselves, that you'd never outgrow the pain, that you'd never become someone they couldn't understand, that you'd always need their pity to feel whole. But you didn't just survive. You became something unrecognizable. You became free. And freedom scares those who are still in chains. So they act like they don't see your glow. They act like they're too busy to notice the breakthrough you fought for. But they notice. They just can't stand how far you've come without them. They watched you burn and expected you to stay ashes, but you became fire. And now they can't stand the heat. They watched you drown in your own silence, but you rose speaking truth. And now they choke on every word you say because it reminds them of who they could have been. They mimic your past because they can't handle your present. They don't know how to exist beside your power, only beneath. They want your pain because they can survive in it. They can't breathe in your elevation, so they disappear. Not because they're too busy, but because your growth broke the illusion that they were ever growing too. They never clapped for you. They just waited for you to crawl again, but you're not crawling anymore. And now their silence is louder than any applause they could have faked. Because silence during your victory is betrayal in its purest form. They mirrored your suffering, but never your strength. They echoed your darkness, but never your light. And now the mask falls. Now the truth roars. Now you see. They lower their voice when they mention your name in rooms you're not in. They wrap their words in fake compassion to cover the sharpness of their intent. They call it checking in, but it's really a performance scripted for gossip. They say they're worried about you, but what they really mean is you've become the topic. They twist your truth into conversation pieces for people who were never meant to hold your story. They present your struggles like entertainment, then sit back and watch the reactions unfold. They speak of your pain like it belongs to them, like it's a tale they've earned the right to retell. They don't share your name with reverence, they share it with spice. They disguise betrayal as care, hoping no one notices the difference. They say, "I'm just so concerned," while grinning at your wounds. They pretend it's empathy, but it's appetite. They crave the drama of your life because theirs is too empty to discuss. They need your chaos to stay relevant in conversations they have no business being in. They deliver your secrets like stories, but hide their own like sins. They say, "Don't get me wrong, I love them," right before slicing your reputation in half. They pretend they're protecting you while selling pieces of your life to anyone who will listen. You trusted them with your truth, and they packaged it for public consumption. They didn't just talk, they sold you. And the worst part is they feel righteous doing it, because in their mind, their concern gives them permission to betray you. They tell others what you're going through, not to help you, but to highlight your flaws. They use your vulnerability to validate their superiority. They frame your name in weakness to feel stronger in their own failure. They want others to see you the way they do, small, unstable, dependent, because your strength makes their ego irrelevant. So they plant doubt with perfectly chosen words. They call it honesty, but their tone is poison. Their version of your story isn't for clarity, it's for control. They want to narrate your life so others never truly see your rise. They exaggerate your darkness and silence your light. They say, "I'm just being real," but they never say it to your face because deep down they know it's not love, it's manipulation. They disguise gossip as loyalty so they can stab you with clean hands. They say they're praying for you, but they're really plotting. They offer advice in public, but judgment in private. They don't want to fix you. They want to frame you. So they speak your name with a tone that sounds helpful, but bleeds deceit. They build trust with others by tearing you down quietly. They pretend to be your messenger while secretly being your enemy. They don't need to lie about you. They just twist the truth until it sounds worse than fiction. They never mention your progress, only your stumbles. They never speak of your victories, only your vulnerability. They keep your lowest moments alive long after you've healed because they can't stand the idea that you've moved on, so they chain you to your past with stories told in hushed corners. They say, "I just don't want others to misunderstand them," right before ensuring everyone does. They smear you with kindness. They sabotage with subtlety. They don't scream hate. They whisper betrayal. And you feel it. You sense the shift in the room when you walk in. You notice the tension that wasn't there before because someone handed out pieces of your soul like gossip currency. And suddenly you're misunderstood by people you never even spoke to. That's how deep betrayal goes. It travels faster than truth. It multiplies through mouths that were never yours. And still, they call it care. They say they're looking out for you, but the only thing they're watching is your downfall. They create smoke and call it fire. They stir confusion and pretend it's concern. They don't want to help you heal. They want to be the one who knows you're broken. Because in that knowing, they feel powerful. Because in that narrative, they stay needed. You outgrow your pain, but they keep retelling it to keep you small. And when confronted, they deny it all. They say you're being too sensitive, as if you didn't feel the blade twist in your back. They say, "I was just worried," as if concern gives them the right to dissect your soul. But love protects, concern respect. And what they're doing is neither. They want to be your hero and your villain both at once. The hand that comforts and the tongue that curses. But your spirit always knows, even when your mind makes excuses. Even when your heart tries to forgive, you start questioning who else knows your secrets. You start doubting who's really safe. And that's exactly what they want, to isolate you through disguised betrayal, to break your trust from the inside out. Because if you stop trusting, you stop rising. If you start doubting your circle, you stay alone. And alone, you're easier to control. That's why they speak of you softly, but never cleanly. They smile in your face and rehearse your story behind closed doors. They wear your name like it's theirs to interpret. But every time they do, They reveal who they truly are. Not friends, not family, but disguised destroyers, people who speak your name with fake compassion while hoping you never recover enough to see it. But now you do.